join me here today with a very special car in the Mercedes CLS55 AMG. This car belongs to my friend, and we decided to swap cars for the week. So he took my E90 M3, and I'm in possession of his CLS55. I've been driving it for a couple of days. This car is kind of silly because it doesn't make any sense, and this is going to be the headline for my video: is this car makes no sense, but still I love it. So why doesn't it make sense? Well, first of all, it's a four-door coupe or coupe, which doesn't really make sense because coupe should be 2 doors instead of 4 doors. The other thing that doesn't make sense is it has so much insane power. This is a supercharged 5-liter V8. All right, it's basically a muscle car. It's basically a Hellcat. And with all that power, this car got dynoed recently. It was making, I think, 450 horsepower at the wheels. 450 or 460 at the wheels. And guess what? The torque is the craziest part. The torque at the wheels was 820, I think. 820. What? That's insane. And it makes maximum torque at around 3,000 RPM. What? That's just madness. And having all that torque at the disposal of your right foot, you just squeeze the throttle. Oh, you can feel it. The gobs of torque just oozing out of the wheels. But you put the power down and it does not have a limited slip differential. That makes no sense. Why doesn't it have a limited slip differential? Well, according to my friend, he says that the E55 came with the option of a limited slip, but not this car because apparently it wouldn't fit. So once again, it doesn't really make sense. I have to say, this air suspension is great. It's really nice, so comfortable. It's probably one of the most comfortable cars of this week that I've been driving, with the exception of the Xantia. The Xantia, that's next level. That's like riding a magic carpet. But this car is really comfortable. You're riding on bags, and you can adjust the stiffness to make it kind of sportier. So if you click it, there's level 1 and level 2. To be honest, I can't really tell that much of a difference. No matter what you do, it's still very comfortable, and so I just leave it in comfort. You're greeted with 3 dials in front of you. Mercedes really wants you to focus on the speed, and so they give you this massive center dial, which is easily twice the size of the 2 dials next to it, showing you the speed, as well as a digital readout right in the center, just telling you you are going this fast. And then on the right side, you have this tiny tachometer showing you the engine speed, as if they don't want you to pay attention to it. It's so small. And then on the left side, seems like they ran out of information to display. They decided to put a clock in there, which on this car the time is wrong. So I guess they want you to know that, number 1, you're going fast, and number 2, you're not going to be late. But they don't want you to pay attention to the engine, which is strange because the engine is kind of the main character of this story. It's a supercharged 5-liter engine, and they don't want you to pay attention to it, at least on the gauges. And so, do you feel this? And so, it doesn't really make sense. Once again, it's AMG. The thing I want to point out is the sound of this car. I mean, it sounds great. It's just like a thunderous sound. It's sonorous and thunderous. But throughout the rev range, it doesn't really change. It's the same sound, just gets louder. It's the same sound. I cannot tell by listening approximately what the revs are on the M3, the E90 M3. I don't even need to look at the tach. I can tell roughly what the revs are. And so if I'm in manual mode, I don't know when to shift unless I look down. But then I look down, all I see is the speed, and the tiny tach is just kind of hard to read when you're going really fast. So it doesn't really make sense. Initially when I drove it, I absolutely loved the sound. Like this is what I expected, probably what Thor would drive if back in 2006, because it just sounds like a constant thunderstorm going on behind you. It's a lovely sound, but when you're going on the highway, when you just want to relax, sometimes you want the exhaust note to take a chill pill, you know? Oh, looks like he wants to stay up. Good for you, my friend. Good for you. But I haven't even touched upon what this car is truly about, and it is the acceleration. So you put the transmission into manual mode. You have two flappy paddles. Shift down again. 3,000 revs. What? This thing flies. Holy sh! Okay. Now, nothing matters once you accelerate like that. Remember, this car is from 2006. Oh my goodness. Oh, this brake. These brakes are terrible, man. It's like stepping on a toad. Squishy. That makes no sense. If you're gonna make this car accelerate like it did just now, wow, that made me a little bit lightheaded. That acceleration is pretty crazy. So going back to the brakes, Mercedes, if you're gonna make this car accelerate like it does, give it good brakes. Oh my god. It was just peeling the left wheel because there's no limited slip differential just now. Why? This gearbox is a 5-speed Tiptronic unit. Tiptronic. I don't like that word. It's just a glorified way of saying automatic transmission. This gearbox is not the best. Around the year 2006, that's when the dual clutch gearboxes started coming out, but I doubt any dual clutch at that time could handle the torque of this car. So I guess I can forgive it. It's so addictive. This speed, this acceleration, I understand now. Even though this car makes no sense, it makes total sense. It's just the Germans having fun. They were making their own version of a muscle car. Huh. I don't know about you guys, but this car reminds me of my, you know, that kid in high school who is clearly overweight. He's fat, all right, but he is naturally athletic. You throw him a ball at any angle and he'll catch it. He'll be able to hit a baseball further than anyone in the class, and he'll manage to run the home run pretty fast as well. But he's fat, and this car reminds me of that. And in fact, that kid I'm talking about, he's also slightly passive aggressive. So you're seated in this car, nice and comfy, you know, makes you feel like you're pretty safe, and all of a sudden it explodes with all that power out of nowhere. And this engine is actually pretty responsive, so you feel like under this car, it has very athletic genetics, but it's overburdened by excess weight on its frame, and you can feel that when you're cornering, when you're pushing the car. Even when you let off the throttle, you could feel this mass still trying to carry forward right before you press the brakes. So the way to drive this car is not to push it. You don't want to push it into a corner. You don't want to test it. Look at that. The way to drive it is to use the power in little spurts, you know? You see a gap, you go for it, boom! You cut in front of the car in front of you, and then you stop, and you chill out. And you wait for the next gap, you explode. You do it in little spurts. That's the way to drive it. Or, you get up to speed, you're on the highway, and you stay at speed. Oh my God, the speed! You know what I think? I think the traction needs to go off. Yeah. Traction needs to go off. Given the choice, I would probably prefer to have the E55 instead, just for the added practicality. I know the CLS looks pretty good, but it's not a styling to die for, and so I would much rather have that small trade-off and have the added practicality of the E55 or even the wagon. Oh yes. Yeah, it doesn't like to corner. It's a mess in the corners. It is a mess. It's like too fat. This car is just too fat. All over the place. Oh, okay. Oh man. This thing is dangerous. It's dangerous not because it's fast, but because it doesn't want to slow down. It just wants to keep going. This car, man. This car is silly. It's a silly car. And I like it. It's very hard to be precise with this car. It's a very blunt tool. And so you just have to drive like an asshole. This car brings out the worst in you. When you're done with this car, you turn the engine off, you walk away, you feel dirty. You feel like you've just ruined the day of many people. And you need to wash your hands after driving this car. It's just, you feel dirty after. It's such a nasty car. So this week I have two cars from Stuttgart, both supercharged. I say supercharged because turbochargers technically fall under the category of a supercharger as well. So we have the Turbo S and then we have this car. Both are plagued by their transmissions, but I feel like this Tiptronic actually kind of suits this car because this car doesn't make sense in the first place. And so it doesn't hurt it to have a kind of lethargic gearbox. But in the 911, you're constantly reminded by the fact that this gearbox could have been a manual and you really want to drive it with a manual. In this car, I don't really care. I was having a lot of fun just now, and not once did I think this car should be a manual. Nope. Because sometimes having a blunt tool is the way to go. On some days, on some drives, you want to have a blunt tool. That's comfortable, silly, and doesn't make sense. And that is what makes the diverse world of cars so interesting. So let's leave it at that, and I'll park the car. That's it. Thank you.